Hey, hello. It is the Go Birds podcast presented by the Butt Parks Sportsbook and Casino app. And we're there, Elliot. And now we could talk about things that by tomorrow could be completely different. You know, we know how this stuff works, but we're there. Final cuts.
Well, you know how they say the initial 53, not the final 53.
That's right.
I love all the tweets this morning from people like, hey guys, just so you know, remember it's the initial 53. It's like, yes, we know. Like people tweet this every year as if like, let me drop this like piece of knowledge on you that nobody knew. Like, yes, we are aware. It's the initial 53, but it is still the initial 53. So definitely a lot to talk about from it.
Yeah, I love it. You just took shots at potentially our listeners there, so that was nice of you. Way to start the cut down pun. I was going to give you this big intro, and then you take a shot at our and
I feel confident none of our listeners were among the beat reporters or NFL reporters tweeting out. Remember, it's the initial. Like, yes, we know they're going to be moves.
I didn't realize you were just talking about beat reporters. I thought you were talking about people on Twitter.
No, just like the national NFL people that are annoying.
So take a shot at your colleagues. I like this. That's even better. You're just ready to go today.
Yes.
All right. Well, let's just go through it. I think it's, let everyone know where the roster stands, how all these things that we were wondering about shaked out. Obviously, you can list it as we go, but we don't need to do much debate on the top of the roster stuff that we expected. But, I think we dived through kind of how it stacked up against what you were expecting, where the surprises were for you. So I think we start offense. Let's start on the offensive side of the ball. I'm going to say Jalen Hurts made the roster. I feel
he's in. He's made
very good about that. What else? Start at quarterback. So Mariota made the roster.
Mariota made it. Tanner McKee obviously made it. I mean, I think the first kind of shock, I would say, now I didn't have him on my 53, but I think that the first
what a flex.
No big deal to me.
You're like, this might have shocked some people. It wouldn't shock.
Well, you're going to hear that a lot throughout the 53. I did well. It's not a winner yet, but I feel confident.
This is good. This is exciting.
They did not keep Britton Covey, and I think that was the right decision in my mind. I think he was a decent punt returner, but I don't think he was electric with the ball in his hands. I think he was good at fielding the punt, which people will listen to and be like, oh yeah, that's when that receiver coach said JJ is great at lining up in the right place or whatever it was. Like, I get that that's maybe not the most exciting skill to have as a punt returner, but when you have this offense and when you have, again, like an offense that's going to score the majority of times they have the ball, not turning the ball over at punt returner and just making the right decision, not costing them yards there is incredibly important. So I can picture a world where Covey is back and returning punts on week one, whether on the practice squad and then elevated. But I think not keeping on the initial 53 is the right move. I don't think he has like a ton of upside or potential. I think he kind of is what he is. He improved a little bit at receiver this year, but he's not somebody you want to play receiver all the time or in a game if, other receivers were to go down. So I think not keeping him was the right move. Joseph Ngata cut. I think he could be back on the practice squad. I think he did have a good camp. A lot of beat reporters disagreed with me on this, but he got thrown the ball a ton. Now, didn't create a ton of separation, which I think is ultimately why he didn't make the roster. But I think he has upside. I think he will be back on the practice squad if he gets through. But those are really the only two, I think, kind of that had a shot to make the roster. And they went really light at it. They only have 4. I think you could see him claim somebody else or elevate from the practice squad, maybe even like a Greg Ward for week 1, but only 4 on the initial one.
Yeah, I would be surprised if they only have 4 on game day. That seems like
they'll bring some up.
I think to the point about Covey, I think obviously not someone who has a lot of value to the rest of the league either, because all he could do is return punts. So someone who waivers
last year.
Yeah, I am sure he'll be on the practice squad if I had to bet. Honestly, I feel about as confident about him as anyone they're quote unquote hoping to slide through the practice squad. All right, what else?
Well, so the other thing, even though they only have 4 receivers, like they did end up keeping 4 tight ends. They traded for the tight end from Denver. Obviously,
say his name. Say his name. Do it.
So we had
the beat writer we need.
So we had a bunch of people tweet at like, can't wait to hear Elliot try to pronounce it.
What's hilarious is that I didn't even know that. I saw no tweets. I just wanted you to say the name.
Yes. So it's Albert. And now I'm even going to look at the pronunciation while I try to do this. Albert Okuabunam. Albert Okuabunam, I guess maybe feels tight. Feels like maybe I got that one.
I just pulled it up. If you look at his Pro Football Reference, it says his long name and then it just says in parentheses Albert O.
Yes, that's probably what I'd imagine. That's what what his nickname will be here.
So all right, here, let me see if I can do it. Ready?
You see where the pronunciation is?
Yeah, I'm looking at it. Okay, Okuibunam.
I guess. Albert
Okuibunam. Okay,
well,
I think it's
Albert
Okuibunam.
We will get a chance.
We've had some tough pronunciations in the past. We all remember the, what seemed like months and months and months of the Big V ultimately ending on Big V, and the people where anyone who had learned the name was super excited to say Halapuli Vali Vata, whatever it was,
Vitae, if I remember correctly,
something like that. And everyone was, this is a tough one. We're gonna have to learn it.
But his name
is Albert.
Yes, and it is a cool name. Like
it's an awesome name. No, it's an awesome name. Yes, it's on us to learn it. It's not Yeah.
So he gets reportedly released earlier in the day by the Broncos. He had, I think, like 101 yards and a touchdown in his final preseason game for the Broncos. And this is a good example of a player reportedly being released, but then the Eagles, in this case, a team wants him, so he doesn't go through waivers. They make a trade for him. I think they traded a condition, like a 6 for him, and
it was like a 6 for a 7th, essentially.
Plus him. So I like it. I mean, he's 6'5". You watch like the highlights I've seen him so far. He kind of looks like what you hope Tyree Jackson turned into, just in terms of his size, his arm length, some of the catches he made. Tyree Jackson was released. I think it makes sense. He didn't have a great camp. We all know I love Tyree Jackson. I had planted my flag pretty firmly on him, but ultimately he didn't have a great camp, and I understand releasing him. But I think this is a smart move. Like if you look at their tight end group, Goddard, clearly the best tight end of the group, but also like a more of a unique body type, I think, than Stoll or Calcaterra. I think that Albert O could come in and be more of the receiving threat that Goddard is, if, knock on wood, God forbid, Goddard were to go down for 5 or 6 games or longer. So 4th year in the league for Albert O. He's not played a ton. I think he has 4 touchdowns, 50 catches in 4 years. So certainly hasn't gotten a great chance, but he's played on a bad offense with bad quarterbacks. And I can envision a world where he's tight end 2 on this team. He's experienced, great, very good receiver, good receiving body. So I like the trade. I think it was a smart one. Obviously I didn't see it coming, so I didn't have him on my 53, but I thought it was the right move.
Yeah, I'm going to guess that none of the other beat writers had Alberto on their 53
No, that would be
so impressive. You can rest assured. Let's move on. Quick question with that, though. Do you think they keep the 4, or do you think this is for now, and that's like if they find someone in a position they want, that one of those 4 is a likely guy to go? You know what I mean?
I could see Calcaterra getting cut. Just because Stoll is the best blocking. I mean, Goddard is a good blocker too, but of the backup tight ends, he's the best blocker they have. Calcaterra, I think, would probably make it through waivers. And now that you have Albert O is like your backup elite kind of
receiving type threat, but athletic receiving.
Yeah, there's less of a need for Calcaterra. So I think Calcaterra could be one that could go. I mean, really, we've talked about the quarterbacks, the receivers.
Yeah, we didn't mention it, but you said it assuredly. I think, and Trey Sermon was released.
Yeah.
And Rashad Penny made the team, so we can move on from that. All right.
What'd you think of Jonathan Taylor not getting traded?
I shocked. So little inside baseball, not inside the dugout. As you guys know, if you're longtime listeners, we have a text thread, me, Jack, and Elliot, the baseball guys thread. And I think I was taking my nap or something. I had just gotten up and I was looking at my phone, and I see on the thread Jack in all caps texting Elliot in all caps, and then and Elliot goes, "Let's go!" And I absolutely thought the Eagles trade for Jonathan Taylor. I opened up the Twitter, this and that, and then I found out almost as good. Aaron Sipa's cut. I'm sure we'll get to it. We probably should have led with it. Yes. Thank God. Thank you. Sorry, Emily's gonna be like, "What the hell are you doing?" But I'm sure he's gonna be back week. He'll be back week 1, and I'll be devastated or whatever. Right. But we'll get to that. Yeah. So I was surprised by it, because I had the moment where I thought the Eagles might actually do it, just because of that text thread. I'm shocked. They didn't just take kind of the best offer they had for him. Why
I think it
wouldn't
was
you?
dumb. It was dumb of them. Like, I get that
Yeah.
you're holding out for more, but he's going to miss 4 games now. Now, when you trade him, it's likely at the deadline. I mean, maybe a team swoops in and tries, but like, he's now going to miss at least 4 of 17 games because of they didn't even take him off the pup, which is surprising to me. Like, maybe his injury is worse than we think, but just seems like mismanagement of an asset by them. There was like kind of
Yeah, you know what?
loose
If I'm him,
reporting.
I would, and we'll move on to the. I would consider just holding out and
Yeah,
losing
just don't play.
money.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just
Um,
until you have to play, and then stay healthy.
Yep.
You
So
know,
there was loose reporting throughout the day about the Eagles being involved. My kind of like thought on it and my reading of everything is they were probably like, "Hey, keep in touch on what the offer is. Keep in touch from the agent on what you think he'll get paid. We would like to at least be informed on it." And that's what Howie does, and it's smart. Like, he probably sat around. I mean, obviously he was doing other things, but he probably wanted to know before Taylor was moved what the offer is and what the contract is. And that's why you hear the Eagles be involved. So clearly, no team must offered anything that great. I can just picture Howie sitting up in the NovaCare saying, "All right, I'll give you a fourth and a conditional 6." Like, just sitting there, like, needling the Colts, being like, "There's no way you'll do this." But I mean, people will say I'm being delusional here, but I still wouldn't rule it out. Like, he'll be available at the trade deadline. They have a good relationship with the Colts. They have running backs that have had injury history before. It'll be cheaper at the deadline. So if you're Jonathan Taylor believer out there, I wouldn't completely give up on it yet.
I wouldn't say they have a good relationship with the Colts. They had one. Frank Reich was
Well,
there, and
Shane
the
Steichen.
whole Carson Wentz thing. Yeah, Steichen, but I don't think
Yeah.
Chris Ballard is super excited to deal with Howie Roseman. But
No, they did agree to do the joint practices, but you're right.
yeah,
They're probably nerve wracking. It's probably not fun to pick up the phone from Howie if you're the
yeah.
very overrated Chris Ballard.
Yeah. But yeah, I think if you're them, and I think honestly for Jonathan Taylor, you should have pushed to get traded somewhere on a 1-year deal and just played out his
Yep.
contract in a better situation. And I think that was the only way it happened with the Eagles. I think I, to your point, checked in, but I don't think he was ever going to give Taylor a contract anything close to what he wanted. But I think he would have been like, hey, instead of if it's going to play out where you're going to stay in Indy for a year and play out the year there or sit out the year there, come here for a year, be freaking awesome behind our awesome offensive line with our awesome team, maybe win a Super Bowl, and then hit free agency in a much better situation. That would have been my pitch.
And
But
that's why I think there's still a shot. I think, like, ultimately this is
might be down the road, but
yeah.
we'll see. And in that case, you're trading with the idea that you're not getting contract. If you're a deadline trade, it's not. He has no leverage anymore, John Taylor. Regardless. All right. O-line. Any surprises before we move on to the D?
No, not really. I mean, look, Fred Johnson got the 2-year contract a few days ago. Had he not gotten that deal, I probably would have listed him as a surprise. I think he had a good camp, but I just didn't think he was going to make the team until we saw that 2-year deal. So he'll be their backup, kind of like main tackle on the right side at least, and we'll see what they want to do with Tyler Steen on the left side. No Josh Sills. Sills didn't make the team. I think when he came back from the commissioner's list, it was his spot to lose, and I think he lost it. Like, he played poorly in practice. He played poorly in the preseason. We'll see if anyone claims him. I would be surprised if people do. And then Opeta did make it. I had him on my 53. I think he's an underrated player. He can play both guard spots. But ultimately, when you look at this line, like, clearly the top 5 are very good. And we'll see, with the backups. But there are probably not many teams in the league that field good backup offensive lines. So, much like a lot of positions we'll talk about, I think the Eagles should feel very good about where their line is at. Maybe a little light. I mean, 9 is maybe a little light, but I don't think there's anyone they cut that I think was worthy of a roster spot.
Yeah, and they have, you hope that even if one guy goes down, it's the guys already in the line can help lift up the guy who's going to fill in and all that. All right, defensive line. As of now, Derek Barnett still an Eagle.
So they keep, we can talk about that. They keep 13 defensive linemen, which, look, I get the logic of it, right? Like, it's a little bit like the logic of drafting Jordan Davis, where you take chances on defensive linemen and you keep them in your building and you don't release guys that, for punters or punt returners. Like, Moro Ojamo is a better chance of being an impactful NFL player, in my opinion, than Britton Covey or Aaron Sipas. I believe it's Katavius Street. I didn't have him on my 53. I'm a little surprised. He had a very quiet camp. I didn't think he stood out. Didn't play in the final preseason game, which should have been my clue.
Should have been a sign, yeah.
Yeah, should have been my clue he was going to make it. But I thought maybe he would have gotten through waivers. Regardless.
And he was a free agency guy, like someone they targeted in a way, at least.
And I always think this is noteworthy. They had him go on WIP. Or
I did too, dude. Well, that's
willing to
when
have him
they
on.
talked about it. When that just happened, dude, I thought about that dude was on WIP. I remember his press conference. I remember them like publicizing it in a way where it
that was
just
a miss
felt
by
like,
me.
but a lesson, Elliot.
Yeah,
A
good
lesson to be
lesson. If they
learned.
come on WIP,
The
they're not.
WIP corollary
I'd
must
be
always be
curious how
taken
many
into account.
people have ever been on WIP that were then released.
Yeah, it's a great
Probably
question.
not high. So at edge, Patrick Johnson, they cut Kyron Johnson. I thought that was the right call. I don't think he's an impact player, and he hasn't done anything. Patrick Johnson,
Elliot,
at least.
I don't know. I'm of the belief you can never have too many Johnsons. You know what I'm saying?
There you go. There you go. So Reddick, Sweat, Graham. Let me ask you a question. Are you concerned about the fact Nolan Smith isn't practicing?
Sure, a little bit. Yeah. I mean, we always talk about rookies and, how important training camp is and developing early. I mean, you've brought this up a million times, and he started camp great, and it's been what, a week and a half, 2 weeks, something like
I
that.
think 11 days since he
Yeah. So look, I'm concerned somewhat about it, but I would, as this camp has gone, I've been excited about the way you've talked about him, the way everyone has talked about him. But I've always kind of been pretty like solid on Jalen Carter as the rookie. I'm expecting to contribute a lot. Like I wasn't like I think whatever they get from Nolan Smith is a bonus this season. I was looking at more at Nolan Smith as not a bonus. That's unfair. Like I expect him to contribute, but you know what I'm saying? Like I'm not counting on Nolan Smith this season in a way that it seemed like some people might be coming out of into the training camp when it happened. So like I'm concerned about it, but I'm also not, freaking out on a team perspective, but I'd like to see him back.
Yeah. I wouldn't say there's a good chance of this. I think he does play week 1 and he's active, but he hasn't practiced in 11 days. I'd be curious to see if there's any shot he doesn't play week 1 or even like maybe a small stint on IR, although they probably would do that pretty quickly after if they were going to do that.
All right, quickly before
Barnett.
we move on. Oh yeah, Barnett. All right, good tease. Before we do Barnett, download the Bet Park Sportsbook and Casino app. I mean,
yes.
This season is here, guys. So today is Tuesday. 1 week from today, 1 week, we're all going to be coming back from Labor Day. Labor Day is a week from yesterday. We're all going to be coming back, and it's going to be the first football week of the season, like Eagles week. We're going to be fired up. It's Football Friday staring us in the face. Like a game is happening that Sunday. Like we're there. It's happening. Like have fun with us. Like we love gambling with the Bet Parks Sportsbook app. We're going to be doing our parlays every week of the season. We go through every single game of the season. If you're a new listener who hopped on maybe during the playoffs or a Super Run, are the Bet Parks Picks Pod every week of the season. We'll pick every single game and we'll make a parlay that you're going to be able to bet on. Elliot, they're going to be able to bet.
You'll be able to bet on them with us too. And I'll say this, like in the app, you'll be able to click and like have.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
But I also think
that was my key for you to jump in like fluidly and be like, there's going to be a little thing. And you're like, hold on. Yeah, you nailed it.
The synergy is good right now.
Bros.
I was going to say the week 1 game, like Kansas City, Detroit, that's an awesome first game to bet. You heard about like, player props, a lot of points, like quarterbacks that are a little hard to read because Mahomes, like obviously is awesome, but I feel like his bets are always high. Goff a bit underrated. So you got to be with us. We'll definitely pick like multiple ones for the first game. So you have to get the app to bet with us.
That's exactly right. And have fun with us. And more than anything, fun for yourself. It's just awesome. We're going to watch these games anyway, especially when NFL rolls around. You're hungry down for the day and you watch it all, and you're watching the Eagles games, obviously, but then you watch everything else. And these games are way more fun when you have some freaking action on it. Plus, Pro Football Future is still out there. You can bet on all of that stuff. Who's going to win it all? Individual player props and all that. Plus, great deal for you new users. If you sign up now, you bet $10 on your first bet. If it's a winner, you get $125 in sports bonus back. If it's a winner, winning bets, and you get the bonus back, $125. A great deal. You must be 21 and present in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, or Ohio. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. And Elliot, if you win that money, that leaves you some money to take care of the things that you need to do. The important things around the house that are going to like basically make your life livable and happy.
And things into that you might not even know you need until it's too late. Like I said, last week we had a chance to meet with people from Window Nation, friend of the pod, has been a friend of the pod for a few weeks now. I think maybe a few months at this point.
Oh yeah, a few months.
Had a chance to meet with them, and they really did like explain how with Windows, once you need them, like you have to find a place that does two things. I mean, price, number one, and they're good with that. No money down, no interest, no payments for 24 months.
And
But
flexible, like in
flexible,
terms
there you go.
of the options that they have. A lot of
I
places
like
just say,
that.
buy this window. It's the best window. That's the only window for you. They'll say, here's like 7 or 8 windows. Choose the one that fits what you want in life right now.
Well, and that's what I'm gonna say. So, you want to have someone, but like that, but someone that can come and do it quickly. And I was surprised to know how long it takes to get windows. Like I always assumed you could just like show up, but they get the windows quicker than
You can
anybody
just
else.
show up and they get the
Yeah, you
windows.
just
How
like
does
go
that
buy
not work that
windows
way?
and have Kristen install them is basically how I assume windows happen. But no, it was really cool to get to learn about the whole thing, all the different styles of windows, all those various Windows things I did not know. And again, Window Nation, windownation.com, call 866-90-NATION or go online to windownation.com. They have all the different styles. We had a 5-star review that said they want me to explain what a bay window is. Not able to do that yet, but maybe we'll have our good friends at Window Nation email me.
Elliot, I think a bay window is one of those things. If you saw it, you'd know it. Like,
Probably.
oh yeah,
There's lots of things like
that's
that.
a bay window.
So they have all the styles. I don't think I can say what any of them are. Bose bays, double hung. I don't know about that one. So anyway, call 866.
It's a family podcast, my friend.
Yes. Call 866. Yeah. Next, I'm going to have to say earmuffs when we're talking about the Windows.
Yes.
866-90-NATION. Go online, windownation.com. And tell them Go Bird sent you. Because we already have people that are buying.
Yes. Tell them Go Bird sent you. It's like huge for us. It's awesome. Auto download the pod, all that good stuff. Also, by the way, if Jalen Hurts uses Window Nation, so if it's good for Jalen, it's good for you, and it's good for me because Jalen's the best. And
we always say you're a shoulders
awesome
up guy. So if Jalen,
right.
Hurts,
exactly, Elliot, exactly. Like think about how much you trust Jalen's decision making in life. Boom. Do I need to say anything? All right, Elliot. Let's get to the Barnett thing.
All right, so I'm like kind of torn on Barnett. I think if they would have traded him for something of value, like let's say a conditional 5th or something like that, I would have understand it. We talked about coming into Final Cuts, how moving on from Barnett could be like sending a message, right? Like this guy has sloppy penalties. This guy has been sloppy at times. We cannot have a sloppy team. We've talked about the team's kind of issues throughout training camp. Sirianni's made it clear that if they're going to lose to bad teams this year, it will be because of penalties. And I think moving on from Barnett in that way would have made some sense. So had they traded him, I would have been okay with it. I think it would have made sense. And I think it was a good message to send. But I also don't think he's someone you just get rid of. Like he has played a bunch of games in the NFL. He's shown he can get after the quarterback to a certain extent. He's pretty decent against the run. And he's your 5th defensive end. So for a team that's trying to win the Super Bowl this year, like I don't think Barnett is a developmental guy. I don't think he's
no, I think no, definitively not. Yeah,
have a Brandon Graham.
That ship has sailed. Yeah.
But I do think he is somebody that can help this team win games. Now, people will counter back, and I'm sure people in the chat will say, "Well, Elliot, he also has a lot of penalties that cost him games." That's a fair counter. But I think as a 5th defensive end, I think keeping him, unless you got something of substance, was probably the right move.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's a risk reward thing of, all right, is the risk of this guy doing something stupid and getting us a penalty in a spot that actually really hurts us worth the, 15, 18, 12, 10 snaps that he's going to get in particular game, or the potential that if someone gets hurt that he rises up the list and gets more snaps and whatnot. You have to weigh all these things. And that's obviously Howie's job. It's Nick's job. It's the whole, coaching and front office staff's job to say, all right, well, here are the downside of Derek Barnett, and here's the likelihood that it could hurt us in a big spot. And here's what he gives us from a football perspective, and weigh them against each other. Like, I think for Eagles fans, and look, me too, I'm not going to say that I'm excited to have Derek Barnett on the roster, but I can step back logically and understand and agree with what you just said. 100% agree with it. But I think for me and a lot of Eagles fans, it's like, you know what, because those moments are so high profile, because they happen so consistently, it's like, F off. I don't need it. It's too frustrating. It's too annoying. And I don't know if the 5th defensive end is worth the headache that he can cause. But I do think logically you're making a good point. But what I need as an Eagles fan is, if Derek Barnett is going to be the 5th defensive end, I need it coming in with Nick Sirianni saying to him, like, yo, bro, like, You don't get 3 strikes. You got 1 strike. Like one time where it's dumb and it's on, because that's the thing is it's like teams know. It's not just us in Philly being like it's always him. See,
They know to poke at him.
it's the NFL. Every
Yeah.
team's going to try and get this guy to fly off the handle, and he does it every single time. It seems in these situations. So I need it to be a 1 strike policy if Derek Barnett is going to be on this route. And again, guys, don't forget it's the initial 53.
Yeah, don't forget. Check
but
Twitter.
I need it to be a 1 strike policy personally if he's going to be on the roster. Do you know what I mean?
Speaking of tweets, I have like the most annoying tweet today, and I want to talk about it at the end of the pod, but just remind me so I don't forget.
I'm gonna put on my list because I have one thing. I figured we only do the 53, but I have one other thing that's been floating around Eagle.
Is it the DeVonta AJ thing?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
that's my thing too. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. All right, it's on my list. So
yeah, okay, that was my thing too.
It's all right. I put it there. I definitely want to talk about it. All right, good.
So yeah, I agree. Like, and it wouldn't shock me if Barnett is still traded. I think once they allow his agent to look for other teams that they're telling you they don't value him a ton, but as your 5th guy, but I would also say overall, they didn't draft him with the 14th overall pick for us to be saying as your 5th defensive end, he's not bad. Like,
oh yeah,
it's still not a good day when Barnett is barely making the roster and could be traded for the pick overall.
Yeah, look, the question of I'm sure we'll do this if he is gone at some point. Was it a bust or?
I think he's definitely a bust. Like I think
overall he's a bust without a doubt. But it's one of those things where it's like, he contributed to that Super Bowl. He's the dude who picked up the freaking ball when Brandon Graham knocked it out. Like, and I know that's not worth the 14th pick in the draft, but like, I mean, I don't know that it's not. I want to Super Bowl. I'm sure anyone else could have been there to pick it up. I get that, but he was a part of that team and he didn't do dumb stuff and he mattered even as a rookie that year. So like, I get it. And I agree. I think I come down on the fact he's a bust. Like, I do agree with you. And he certainly is in any classic football sense a bust. It's just, it's one of those things where it's, it's waiting the Super Bowl and whatever. It's like the Rams right now. Like, the Rams, do you look at these guys that you traded for and gave up these picks for, and now you're destitute? Like Matt Stafford, is that a bust for them? Like, no, he won them a freaking Super Bowl. But now that like that contract, the draft picks even up for it, it's a mess. Like it's a disaster. Yeah. So, what I mean.
But Barnett is. So I agree with you on a like holistic sense that every move in a way made before the Super Bowl ended up working out to an extent because they won the Super Bowl, right? But I would just say, not to turn this into a 45-minute Barnett thing, I think it's a stretch to say he like contributed. Like he was on the roster, but they very much win that Super Bowl without him. So like props to him for getting the fumble recovery. I guess he didn't blow the game with a dumb penalty, but he's definitely a bust. And it seems we agree on
that. He's a bust, but he did get the ball on the biggest play in Eagles history. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, it was like right place, right time.
I'm just saying. All right. How many linebackers did they keep? We talked a lot about 3 so you're right about that.
There was some buzz through. I got that one. There was some buzz throughout the day that Moreau might make it, but obviously he didn't. Your boy N'Kobe, Christian Ellis, Zach Cunningham, who I think is going to start.
So you flat out nailed the linebacker thing,
dude. I did. So all right. So I'll tell you now.
Let's wrap. You're tied.
I'm tied.
I was going to get through the rest. I was going to do that. Let's finish out and then we'll wrap it all up with how many. All right. So all that we have left is the secondary anyway. Any surprises there for you? I saw your guy, Eli Ricks. Good call by you.
Eli Ricks. Great call by them. Keeping him. I think he has a ton of potential. I think it was the right move to keep him. They kept Mario Goodrich. I had him on the roster. I think that was the right call, obviously.
I love the flex in your voice right now. It's so good.
I know. Mekhi Gardner, I had him on. They didn't keep him. But the Isaiah Rodgers thing, really quick. So when you want to talk about like why Howie, and he was voted in The Athletic as the best GM in the league by other agents. He was voted in The Athletic by the like best eye for talent among GMs. If you want to talk about why Howie is the best GM in the league and why he is a step ahead of everybody else, look at Isaiah Rodgers. Like, so they go and they sign this guy. He's suspended for the year for gambling, which is a dumb rule. He was dumb to break it. It is the rule.
It's not a dumb rule.
It's a dumb rule. Regardless, he breaks the rule. And this is a guy that was good last year.
He's dumb for breaking it. That's for sure. Go ahead.
Yes. If you look at Pro Football Focus, which I know is not the end all be all, but in 400 plus snaps last year, he was the 5th overall corner in their rating system and 6th in coverage.
Wow. For real?
Yeah. Like, Howie just got him for free, just for free. Like he's not on the roster. He doesn't count against it. Yeah, they're going to pay him something, but I don't even think that happens until next year. This is why Howie is the best, because this player is just sitting there, and other GMs are probably like, well, he's suspended. We'll figure it out next year. And Howie just picks him up and brings him in. So I did think when I saw that unfortunately that meant they probably weren't going to go as heavy as I thought at young corner, because now you have him for next year. Mekhi Garner, they'll probably try to get him back on the practice squad. But I just thought the Isaiah Rodgers thing was such like a good example of Howie just crushing it.
Yeah, I love it. I feel bad for our guy Drew in Westchester. He gets married, but he can't get Mekhi Gardner on the team. He was excited about that.
I know.
But
It's a shame.
shout out to our guy. We'll see him at the baseball game tomorrow and congratulate him in person.
Yes.
All right. Safeties, anything? Oh, Kayvon didn't make the team.
Kayvon got cut. Well, there was a report from John Clark about how there's a ton of interest and he's already not going to be back. I guess Kayvon is not very happy about being released. And
I'm sure
he'll probably just go somewhere else. I was a little surprised. Yeah, I would say I was a little surprised. I think he had a decent camp. He got reps with the starters. They didn't have a lot of safeties. So that might have been why. But he did play late into the third game of the preseason. So not a huge loss. I had big hopes on Kayvon when they drafted him. I really thought the Eagles had something there. And I think he could still be a good player.
I did too.
Yeah.
He was the player in that draft class I was most excited about. Little did I know. A guy named Jalen in the second round, not the Jalen in the first round. Did not go as well. All right. Before we get to the AJ Smith thing and then our final thoughts, by the way, I've been crushing it on coming up with some final thoughts. I got like a good little run of them coming. So
I think I wrote one down too, actually.
All right. Well, you find it while I ask you. We're going to do the Smith AJ thing in 1 second. But last thing on the roster, if you had to guess a position and whether it's by like a punter, Sipos, quickly. Oh my goodness. I joked about do you think he's the punter opening day? Do you think they're looking? I mean, obviously looking for someone else. How do you think this plays out? Great call by you having the guts. Oh, and let's wrap up your roster thing too. Having the guts to not put him on your roster. I believe you and BLG, Jimmy Kempsey said the only two not to do it. Strong.
All right. So apparently right now, a lot of people are tied at 51, which is where I'm at.
Here 51. Wow. Let me give you one of these. Hold on. Thank you. You can see I said Mazel tov, buddy. That is an amazing job. I'm so especially after you were so confident. You're like, I'm gonna get 53. Well done, sir.
Well, especially after they traded for somebody. So nobody was going to get all 53.
Yeah.
I would make this argument. I think for me not guessing Sipos, I should get the tiebreaker.
I agree with you. I don't think it's a question. What is the tiebreaker?
It's going to be decided by practice squad. Whoever gets the most practice squad guys.
That's so lame.
I know. It's very lame, which is not great. But we'll see. I mean, just rolling
BS. I'm calling it BS. Elliott should get it for the most impressive call. Not be a punter. Everyone else conventional. Elliott thinks outside the box and still gets 51.
If BLG had 51 and also didn't have the punter,
I agree. Then you two should do practice squad together.
But I think I'm going to declare myself the winner.
I think you should.
I think I deserve the crown.
The Go Birds pod community will back you on it. I promise. I believe it. Speaking of Go Birds community, by the way, don't forget, come to Dallas with us.
Yes, come to Dallas, fans of Philly.
We'll talk more about it on the pod later in the week when we're together.
I've been texting with Joe, and it's just exciting to hear all the people coming. So it's going to be super
it's going to be awesome. Okay. So last thing before we get to the AJ DeVonta thing, if you had to bet on and Sipos, you never answered that question.
I think there's a chance he's back for sure. I think they'll try out other punters. I would just commend them for not using a roster spot on.
I agree.
From here on out, it is what it is. Like they'll find the best punter they can. I guess to a certain extent, they deserve the benefit of the doubt and saying they'll be able to find the best punter. But would it surprise me if Sipos is punting week 1 and Covey is returning punts? No, but there's a difference to me at least them doing it on the 53 as opposed to guys you're calling up.
I agree. I think it was smart roster mechanics.
I'll be curious to see how long it is until teams just never carry punters and you promote every week.
It's well, I think there are certain, like the best punters in the league, I think will still get kept, but I think that's an interesting thought. All right. Last question before the AJ DeVonta thing. If you had to just guess whether it's by trade, like an Alberto type trade, or whether it's claiming someone from another team, just, call your shot, just pick one. What position do you think is most likely for Howie to add at?
I think linebacker. Just because they only have 3, there's no guarantee you get these guys on the practice squad. So I would say linebacker would be one for me. I'll go top 3. Linebacker, backup offensive line, and maybe receiver. Honestly, they only have 4. So maybe you get a guy that you want to like hold on and develop. So those would be my 3.
I'm happy that I asked for him. He gave 3. I appreciate that. No, I actually do. That was good. All right. The AJ DeVonta.
All right, can I go first on the AJ thing?
Sure. Let me
I
just
think we're
set it
gonna
up in
agree on
case.
this.
Yeah, I'm sure
Okay.
we are. For what it's worth,
Yeah.
I already said what I feel on the morning show, but I will repeat it here for our Go Birds listeners who did not hear it. But just to set it up in case you missed, I'm sure most people have seen it. But um, apparently, there's a AJ versus
All right.
DeVonta
So, all
thing being
right.
manufactured. Hold on,
Yeah.
manufactured. Let me just say, where it kind of got some juice was from AJ Brown being asked. And I love Rube, that's my guy, but kind of a loaded question saying, there's this team AJ, team DeVonta thing going on, which like I've not heard anyone use the team AJ, team DeVonta thing, but whatever. And AJ Brown was like, you shouldn't do that, whatever.
Right.
Go ahead.
Okay. So also another piece of this is so Darius Slay said on his podcast that he could see DeVonta Smith being the best receiver in the NFL one day. Tim McManus of ESPN, someone we both also love, used to work
Loved
with
him.
him. I love
Loved him.
talking to Tim.
Like an awesome human being. Big Tim
Yes.
McManus fan.
So Tim asks AJ what he thought of that. If we're being honest, to me, that's a bit more of a loaded question than Rube's. Like he's saying, AJ, what do you think of the fact, right? Okay. So AJ answers it and, is fine answer. Then Rube follows up and asks that. So here's my opinion on this. Like, I hate to break it to everybody. Nobody, like, this is nothing. This is a nothing story. The media is not creating anything. The fans are not being divisive about it. They're both great receivers. I work for WFP. You work for WFP. We have talked about this subject on the air. Who's better, DeVonta or AJ? And when we do it, literally every time the answer is, man, they're both awesome. Maybe I'd go this person, but they're really great. When the fans talk about it, that's how it's being discussed. When the media asks about it, it is asked in a good-natured, non-divisive way. Like, I think AJ was responding to something that is not there. Now, maybe like Rube could have, I don't know.
I give AJ the credit that I do think, because we played it on the radio and we totally agree, and I'll expand, but like 100% agree on this. But when I listened to it, we played it on the air, and I listened to it in the morning when I was setting up for the show, and then we played on the air. And when I heard it on the air and I heard the team AJ, team DeVonta thing, I do think that is in a way loaded in the sense of where, I think that's representing something that isn't there. Like, I don't think there's team AJ and team DeVonta. I think there's team Eagles receivers are awesome. Like you just said, we all agree. They're both amazing. I think they're both potentially top 10 in the NFL. I've said that I think DeVonta could be better long-term. I think most people think AJ's better. Guess what? People talk about how good you are and they compare you to players. It's your job. It's how you freaking get paid. You get paid because they say, where does AJ Brown rank against the rest of the receivers in the NFL, including your teammate? That's how it all works. That's what we do. We always talk about players. It is completely and totally good-natured. It was completely and totally like, we have two awesome dudes. Can you believe it? Hey, who do you think's better? Like, no one's pitting anyone against each other. No one's taking sides. No one's choosing one over the other. Enough. It is so freaking dumb.
And the most annoying tweet going around is the whole, like, people tweeting like, no, the fans never divided. I'm like, no one ever said you divided them. Like, Ed Kratz, also my guy. Love to talk to Ed. Been working with him for years. Like, guess what? Yes, maybe he had a tweet that was like not worded perfectly, but everyone's like dunking on him. The media is not creating this. The fans are not creating it. And also, to your point, like, guess what? One is better than the other. They're not exactly even. And it's fun to talk about who is better because they're both awesome. Like, it just is what it is. So I just hate this whole, like, the media is creating something and then the fans have to do the whole, like, we never did this when the media never said they did. Like, it's okay to talk about who's better. They're both awesome receivers. Like you said, they could both be top 10. AJ could be top 5. DeVonta could get there. I think it's fun to debate their different games. Like, AJ's a great route runner. So is DeVonta. DeVonta's great after the catch. We've done it on the pod. Who's better after the catch? Even though people say AJ is, I think DeVonta is. Like, it's fine. Like, everybody just, like, relax. This is, and it was funny. I was texting in a group chat with my friend Chris, and he said, like, this is what happens when the team is so good. And it's true. Like, these are the things. And I don't know. I can't stand all the tweets like, oh, no one's dividing them. And like, it's all good, guys. Like, everyone relax. It's fun to talk about this thing. AJ handled it in a great way. Like, this is the most nothing story to me.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's silly. No one is dividing. We all just love them all. And this is, look, I'm never going to tell people how to feel. Elliot and I are both big believers in not telling people how to feel. We talk about it all the time. We're not into that. But like, I'm going to tell people like that that the intention is not there from it. And maybe, look, who knows? Maybe there is someone in the media or someone in the fan base who does have that intention. I can't speak for everyone, but this whole thing is not real. And it's not a real thing.
Think too, like the whole team AJ, team DeVonta, I think that I can understand why that sounds divisive. But what it really is just like it's fun. Like,
I know, but
I think Devontae's better. Why do you think that? Well, I think AJ's better.
I want to discuss, but I get why AJ, when he hears it phrased like that, could say that. That's all. But look, I don't think there's anything.
I don't think anyone's in the wrong here. Like that would be the best, I guess, way for me to phrase it.
Did you find your final?
I did not. But let me,
buddy.
I know.
Okay, so how about this? I'll do a Zoe thing, then you can find your final thought, and then I'll do one of my final. I have so many final thoughts, I don't know which one to go with. So I'll do a quick Zoe thing. Oh man. She's got a lot. I've had a lot of Zoe ones since we last talked. All right. She's taken to lately saying whenever I'll say like brush your teeth, not saying something, but like something with like don't do that. So she'll go, how can you say that to a little girl? It's hilarious.
What do you say back?
I'm like, usually I'm like, dude, come on. But it's usually, or I'll laugh and I'll be like,
you're like, I like DeVonta better. She's like, how can you say that?
That's exactly right. All right. I'll give you a choice too of my final thoughts while you continue to look. I had a weird.
I'm gonna find it, unfortunately.
Do you want to try and think of one on the fly or no final thought?
Maybe you talk and I'll see what I can come
up with. So all right, would you rather? I'll give you a choice. Would you rather I do one about a weird revelation I had about reading and myself? Would you rather have a dark thought about movies and TV, or would you rather have something that like I can't believe they actually
do the revolution
this way?
The revolution.
The revelation.
Revelation. Sorry.
Okay, this is very nerdy. This is like a super.
Well, don't worry. There's only thousands of people.
And and if there are any psychiatrists listening, I'm sure there's something that they could say about my psyche from this. But so I realized recently, as I was switching from one book to another, as I just finished the most recent Red Rising book. For anyone who I've talked about the books on the pod, awesome. Like these books kick ass. But Lightbringer's name of the book, but. I went on to another book. I'm reading the Silo series. Very good. I'm like, 300 some pages in the first book. But I came to a revelation that like when I look back at my favorite books, and there are a couple that are not like this. There are a couple examples of my favorite books or stories that are different. But for the most part, if given a choice of a similar type of story, I have a strong written from a character's perspective. Books where it'll be like either different characters throughout or one character. I prefer when it's written in the I and we, when they talk that way, as opposed to like someone looking in on their life and saying they did this, they and them. Do you know what I mean? I know it's a very subtle, weird, nerdy. It's perspective that you're reading from. Obviously, you're either reading from like you're the character and they are speaking as if you are them and they're telling you what's going on inside their head, or you're seeing their head from an outside perspective, almost like they thought this, they thought that. I know it's a weird I told you it was weird, nerdy.
No, it is weird. It's random, but I agree with you. I like the I and the we, and like you feel like you're following the person throughout as opposed to like watching them. Like you're almost seeing it obviously through their eyes. Did you like books where it changed every chapter? Like where
the character perspective. Yeah, I like those. I like both ways. But yeah, I definitely like that. These so that's actually really interesting you asked this question, because the books I just read, the Red Rising books, there are 6 of them so far. There's going to be a 7th. But the first 3 were all from one character's perspective, only one character. And then the next 3, it was like 4 characters' perspective. So even in those books, you saw the different types of doing it. It was interesting.
Well, next time I pick a book out, I'll have to take that into consideration.
All right. I told you it's weird and nerdy. So there we go. That's what we do. We let people inside our lives here.
I have a weird, nerdy recommendation. And I actually think it's up your alley. Have you watched Blackbird on Apple TV?
I have not.
Have you heard about it?
It sounds familiar, but I don't know what it is.
It's really good. It's about it's based on a true story. It's about this guy who was in jail and then he gets to go to a maximum security prison to try to get a confession from another prisoner. And then he gets out of jail if he gets it. It's like 6 episodes. They're an hour long. Bang that out quick, obviously. Okay. I would highly recommend it. It's
Blackbird.
Blackbird on Apple TV.
Singing in the dead of night.
Little What We're Watching.
Love it. a true classic. All right. Yeah. We will be back Thursday from the studio. Hopefully that's the plan. on YouTube. So we'll be here, and that's all I got. Yeah, it's go time, dude. So Thursday, we got season predictions coming up later in the week. That's gonna be awesome. And then, like, again, next week it's freaking go time, man.
And also, if you're listening to this and it's not before Wednesday at 1:00, we will be at the Phillies game. So
yes,
I think where are we in the bleachers? I think.
The rooftop section. We'll be in the rooftop section.
So we'll be over there. Come over and say hi.
Come say hi.
Morning show event, but just
it's just a morning show event. Just a morning show event.
Baseball is what I mean. Like,
sure.
Like,
it's you know what? I don't see Jack Fitz
more
there.
of a go Birds.
Feels way more of a morning show go Birds event than it is a High Hopes event. So coming out with us would be awesome. Tell us Go Birds sent you.
If someone came carrying a huge window, that would be impressive.
It would also just be funny if someone walked up and was like, "Hey guys, Go Bird sent me." Like, I would laugh.
That would be good.
I'll laugh if you do that. All right. Hopefully we see you tomorrow. If not, we will see you on Thursday through this YouTube here, as we'll be back from the studio and all that. And then next week we're there, buddy. It's gonna be awesome. All right. So until then, he's Adam James.